Morning.
Morning, Levi.
Morning, Rebbe.
Good morning. Okay, want to wish all of you an easy fast today. And
Same to you, Rabbi.
You're welcome. The Gemara that we learned is continuing to give insights into different verses and how the Amoraim, the rabbis of the Gemara, how they were emotionally moved by some of these verses. So the Gemara that we're up to is the Gemara that mentions Rabbi Yochanan coming to a pasuk of Kiyas Kol Maaseh Ha'alikim. Well, we started it. We mentioned that it refers to someone who is a verse that says that for every action, Hashem will bring judgment. And it continues and says, Al Kol Nela, which we explained to mean on all mistakes, on all shogigs, unintentional sins. So there's a statement of Rabbi Yochanan here on that verse that says, a slave whose master considers unintentional sins equivalent to intentional sins. Is there any takana for such a person? Is there any way around it? Is there any remedy for this person?
Fix.
Oh, yeah,
Fix.
How could you deal with that? You're stuck for even mistakes. I mean, everyone makes mistakes. So how what can you what should Hashem expect? How could Hashem expect so much from us? So that was his crying, his weeping when he read that pasuk. He cried. So the Gemara now asks a question on that, and it says the last words is Al Kol Nela, on all hidden things, concealed things, which we translate as mistakes. But why does it say Al Kol, on all of them, on any of them? It sounds like even ones that you would not expect to be considered a sin, even those you're going to have to be judged for. Even ones that that are minuscule, like really that maybe that you're going to be surprised that they would even be considered a sin. Even those you're going to be judged for. So what does that refer to? So Amar Rav says kina b'fnei chaveroi v'nimasba, that if you kill a louse in front of your friend and your friend is disgusted by it, so you will be judged. Hashem will bring you to judgment against that act. And it's like something that you wouldn't even think of as a sin, and yet Hashem will bring you to judgment. One of the commentaries here mentions that we're dealing with someone who did this on purpose. You purposely killed a louse in front of that person because you know it'll bother.
Rabbi,
yes.
Is it for killing the louse, or is it because you did it in front of your friend?
No, doing it in front of your friend.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's an additional reference to something else in the art scroll dealing with, and that and Shmuel said, this refers to one who spits in the presence of his friend, and the friend is disgusted by this.
Yeah, that's the next statement.
Okay.
But that's a different view. The first view that we're sort of just digesting now is Rav's opinion. Rav and Shmuel often argue, and Shmuel is going to argue and say what Robert said. But before we get to Shmuel, we're just digesting this and absorbing this. that by killing this louse in front of your friend, you're going to be punished. Now, what did you do wrong? I mean, you're allowed to kill a louse. It's bothering you, and in front of a friend, your friend got a little disgusted by it. Okay, people do things that, sometimes every person has their things that they get disgusted with. But our Gemara says that you will be judged for such a thing. So I mentioned to you that
you did it on purpose.
So that's one way of looking at it. That one of the commentaries says you intentionally did it to cause him pain. So because of that, you will be judged.
You could have turned away.
You could have gone and done it in a place where he wouldn't have seen. You
Turn
did it in front
around.
of him, and you did it because it's causing him pain. So therefore, it's considered a sin. Not everyone agrees with that. There is another view that says, no, you didn't do it on purpose to make him disgusted. And nevertheless, you will be judged for such a thing. I guess you should have thought that he might get disgusted, or should have considered such a thing. But even though you didn't do it on purpose, you will be judged. So that's two ways of learning Rav's opinion. Now we come to Shmuel. Shmuel says, "Harok b'fnei chaveroi v'nimas." That a person who spits in front of his friend and his friend gets disgusted by it, so he will be judged by this. Now, which one is worse, killing a louse in front of your friend or spitting in front of your friend? So one of the commentaries mentions here, he says, when you have to spit, you don't really have much of a choice. You have certain you have something in your mouth that you need to spit out, a bad taste or something. So Shmuel says, even in such a case where you need to spit it out, even there you're going to be judged. Now, it's not only a case where a louse, you could have gone somewhere and killed it, not in front of him, thrown it away or whatever, not killed it even, maybe you didn't have to, but in Shmuel's case, you can't really stop it. You're not going to swallow this. But nevertheless, and so you have to spit it. Nevertheless, you're going to be judged. I guess you should have spit it into your handkerchief or your garment or something, but you didn't have to do it in front of him. Yes, Robert.
I guess there may be two principles involved, but we live in different times. One, the first example is you killed something that was living. So is there any issue relative how distasteful this louse may be? It's a living entity. And the other one with the spitting is, in some societies, spitting is regarded as being unsanitary and could spread germs. And so, there's the degrees of being offensive to someone or being insensitive to maybe prohibition from spreading disease versus killing something that's living. I don't know if that's relevant or not to this conversation.
So,
in Singapore,
just one second. There's a lot of sound, a lot of noise.
Sorry.
Here. Ben, did you want to say something?
Okay, sorry, it wasn't going away. I wanted to say that in Singapore, you get arrested for spitting on the street, not just in front of your friend, because it is like what Robert said, both. Mm-hmm. And when you are with your friend and you must spit, at least turn around, not in his face. Here it says in front of his face. So you didn't do anything to cover up on it or to to move so the friend doesn't see it, the ugliness of a spit.
Right.
Yeah, and those things is creating an unwarranted imposition on somebody, let's say. It's causing them pain, discomfiture, a threat, whatever. Yeah.
So Robert is saying here is that it seems like there's 2 points, and one is the fact that you're either killing something or causing germs to be spread. And then the other concept is you're doing it in front of your friend who's getting disgusted. So, these are two issues. Our Gemara seems to be emphasizing the fact that you're doing it in front of someone. In other words, causing someone to be disgusted. We're not really dealing with the fact that you're killing a louse or you're causing germs to possibly spread, which I'm not so sure how that, I'm not in the medical field, so I don't know how dangerous that is. But the issue that our Gemara really seems to be dealing with is the fact that you're doing it in front of your friend. And as we saw, one of the commentaries says you even did it on purpose to bother him. So it doesn't seem like the issue here is regarding killing a louse. Now, why would that be? Because a person, according to Jewish law, you are allowed to kill a creature that's bothering you. So a fly, a mosquito, a louse. It's not a problem to kill lice. You are allowed to. But when it comes to bothering someone, that is an issue. So that's what it seems like that's what the Gemara says. And he is disgusted with it. It seems to be pretty clear that it's because it's causing him pain. But the other idea of causing germs. I mean, I don't know how that. I guess we'd have to ask a doctor who deals with germs who would know more about that spitting and the issue. In the olden days, it was very common, I think, to spit in public, and people to the extent that we even had a discussion in shul if you're allowed to spit. In the common, the understanding was that as long as you do it in your house, you're allowed to do it in shul, and the understanding was that people did it in their house. And being that people did it in their house, they would do it in shul as well. So it was like it is permissible to spit in shul because people would do it in their house. Yes, Mordechai.
Yeah, wasn't there an ancient belief that certain creatures, like maybe lice, that they were produced, say, like from sweat or something like that, as opposed to procreation?
Yeah, I'm not sure which ones. There is a discussion in the laws of Shabbos about killing them on Shabbos, if they're made from a male and female, or they just come from dirt, right? Something like that. If they come from mold or something. Yeah, there is such a discussion. Yes, Ben.
I want to say the fact that they mentioned the spitting in front of your friend in those days, that means that even then people didn't like it. It's not that then everybody was spitting. Big deal. Everybody was on.
Today we have example that with COVID, people should be wearing masks to prevent from airborne germs. And when you spit, there are airborne, whatever you're exiting from you are, there's airborne germs. That's part of that. That could be contagious.
Right. Okay. For some reason, right. Okay. I mean, that's an interesting point. Yeah. And the Gemara doesn't seem to see that issue. Maybe
distinguish that. Yeah.
It doesn't seem to emphasize that point. Okay. So the next Gemara mentions what is the end of that verse. In that verse, the end, it says, Im toivim ve'im ra, whether for good or bad, you're going to be judged. Now, that sounds a little surprising. You're going to be judged for good things. Like, You do something good, you're going to be judged. You're going to be taken to judgment, which so the Gemara has to come up with an understanding of what does that mean? Why are you being judged for something good? So the Gemara says, Ma yim toivim ra. So let me tell you where we are. We're on page 5a. And Im Toivim Ra, it must be about 18 lines from the bottom. Let's see, 5, 10, more like 15 lines from the bottom.
It's citation 26 in Art Scroll, if you have that.
So, okay, all right, thank you, Robert. So what does it mean, Im Toivim Ra? So the Gemara answers, Amri Devei Rabbi Yanai, the base medrash of Rabbi Yanai answered, the academy of Rabbi Yanai, they answered, you did a good deed, but you did it bad. What does that mean? You gave a poor person charity in public. Now, obviously, we're not talking about someone who is fundraising with his hand sticking out in public and expecting you to give him because that person wants you to give him in public. But what happens if you happen to know someone's falling on tough times? He's in a bad situation financially, and people don't necessarily know about it, or he's not comfortable with people, revealing it in public. And so you want to help him out. Don't go and hand him, charity in public. That's a very embarrassing thing. If you want to help him out, you have to figure out a way to do it in a respectful way. And otherwise you could do more damage than good. So it's almost like, you hand him your pushka from your house, you go to shul in front of everyone and you say, oh, here's some charity, and hand him the pushka. That's very embarrassing to do to someone, even though he could use, maybe, he needs it, but you can't, that's not the way to help someone out, and you're causing him great embarrassment. So Kihad Rabbi Yanai, this is similar to a story of Rabbi Yanai. Chazia lahu gavra. Rabbi Yanai saw that a certain person, the Koyov Zuza La'ani B'Farhes, he gave a coin to a poor person in public. Amar Le, Rabbi Yanai told him, Mutav delay, you have to lay. It would have been better had you not given. Mehashta diavasle v'kasafte. From now that you gave him, but the chasafte and you were embarrassed him, and so you will be judged on that act. Yes, Robert.
I'm just trying to distinguish two different definitions. The different degrees of tzedakah, the highest degree is to give somebody relief with their not knowing about it, and you're anonymous in it, and that's the highest value. But my family, when we used to go to the cemetery, we'd see the quote unquote schnorrers who were looking for handouts. Okay. And so that, I guess, is a form of panasis. I don't know how you would want to categorize that, but clearly they're looking for a handout. It's an unearned handout. Or, they come to shuls looking for handouts. How many times?
Right.
Right. So that's part of what we have to consider relative to the degree or not of tzedakah or panasis, I guess.
Yeah. So you're right. Someone who's walking around asking for a handout, they are not embarrassed. You should give them. In fact, it's embarrassing if you say no to them. But someone else who's in shul is not looking for handouts, although he needs handouts and he is hoping some miracle is going to happen. Him, you should not give him in public. Him, you somehow give him in private, as Robert says, either get money to him that he won't know that it came from you, or really the highest level of tzedakah is to find someone a job. That's actually the highest, or one of the highest levels, is where you get them the ability to support themselves without embarrassment.
Smith,
Yes.
that's what I meant to say. The highest level of tzedakah is to give him parnasa, a job.
Right.
That's the highest level of tzedakah.
Because what it does is it's the most, he can give him the feeling that you're building him up and let him have a good feeling that he's making his own money and he's not, he doesn't need to be a schnorrer. So you really, that's that's really a high level. Of course, we are all, schnorrers. No one really makes money. It's all Hashem giving us our money. But at least it looks, at least we don't have to feel in front of other people that way. We know truth, it's really Hashem giving us, and I don't mean it as a joke. In truth, people have these great high positions, and really it's all because the Eibishter is giving them parnasa. It's not because they went to MIT or Harvard or something. They got their good positions and it's the Eibishter is providing. Everyone is that way. But at least in front of other people, we don't have to be schnorrers. It feel like schnorrers. And that's giving someone a job. You let him live with dignity and make his money with dignity. Yes, Ben.
Yeah, I think the last word, Chasafta, I think that's uncovered. You uncovered something the man did not want to uncover. It's like what we learned from Hillel, don't do to your friend what you don't want done to you. So don't show something that is negative in your fellow man.
I mean, I think it means embarrass. I mean, the word comes up often. That it's an Aramaic word, embarrassing.
But in Hebrew, lachsof is to uncover. Maybe it's with a samach, I'm not sure.
Uh-huh. But kisui in Hebrew is cover.
Yes.
Kisui is cover.
Yes.
But lachsof is to uncover.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Maybe that's with a ches.
It is with a ches here too.
Here,
Chasov and
No, it's with a chaf. It's with a chaf. Yeah.
with a chaf. Yeah.
With chafta.
Yeah, I think you're thinking with a ches, maybe.
You're
Yeah.
revealing something that you would prefer be kept covered. The whole concept here is just being sensitive.
Yeah, but Isaac, let's first make sure the etymology is right before you explain it that way.
The concept is whether the etymology is right. I think the point here is a necessity. Each individual circumstance is different. We can each come up with a hypothetical, but the idea is to be thinking of the other rather than just yourself. Yes, you want to give tzedakah, it's very nice. Right. But if you want to make a big show of it, or if you need more than is considered by whatever standard appropriate, that's all they're saying.
But you know what? It's really deeper. I think I think it's even more than that. You're not allowed to be. You're not allowed to just take things simply. God expects from you to think deeply. And if you think you're doing a good job, a good deed by giving tzedakah, and you're caring about him, not about yourself, you're caring about him. You know what? You're not caring enough about him. You have to really think deeply into your act of tzedakah. Is this really the right way to give the tzedakah? Because I'm caring about him, but you know what? I'm not thinking enough. You have to use your seichel. In other words, we're responsible. The Eibusha gave us our intellect. We have to use it as much as we can. We are responsible to use it. Otherwise, it's like wasting. It's not acknowledging Hashem's gift. So we have an obligation to use our seichel to that extent and make sure I'm giving him tzedakah. I'm caring about him, but I'm not thinking enough into. Maybe I'm not respecting his needs and caring and understanding what is tzedakah. Yes, Robert.
Well, aren't we playing into our evil inclination that negates the good that we want to do or we should be doing?
And what do you mean?
Well, we're compromising because of our ego needs, and that again, so that cheapens the effort we make and belittles the person. Even if it's inadvertent, we're betraying the true, effort to help somebody. And we should guard against that.
Right. In other words, make sure it's really helping them and not just,
right.
In other words, we shouldn't just feel good that we gave charity.
Well, your ego, your ego gets expanded, bloated, and then people become how many people, it's like you make an anonymous donation, right? Versus you have to have it in big capital bold letters that you did it for your own ego needs.
Right. In other words, if you're doing it for your ego, then you don't really care so much about him. You just care about that you feel good that you gave him the charity.
Right, and you're unthinking about it.
Right.
Really.
In other words, it stops there. I accomplished my goal with my feelings.
You got your jollies by doing it. Okay.
Right. Good point. Yes, Ben.
There's another point. Some people are doing it just for their gahava, They go to a pushka like by us in Shul. There's two people, they really bother me. They go, they shake the pushka, they put, I don't know if it's $1 or $5, they open it and take all the coins out of it. I'm taking change,
God.
Right. Okay. So then the Gemara continues and says that Devei Reb Shila Amri, the base medrash of Reb Shila, the house of study of Reb Shila, they say that there is a time when you're not supposed to give money privately, secretly. You actually should give it publicly. When is that? When a woman needs money and you want to help her. The thing is, if you help her in a side room, you're actually causing more problems than good, because what are people going to say? They see you exiting the room with her, and people start thinking, what were they up to over there? So you're actually causing more problems by giving charity to a woman in a concealed, secret place than if you would have done it. You should have done it in public. And that's what the Gemara says. You gave money, charity to a woman, b'seiser, in a secret place. To come maisi lalidei chashada, you're bringing her under suspicion. Yeah, people are going to suspect her maybe that she did something inappropriate. So by giving her tzedakah like that, you can make big problems. Especially because they know that she needs money, and some people pay for these type of acts, so you're bringing her into this suspicion. Now, Rava says that there's another type of situation where you might do something good, but it's really, you're going to be judged for it. And what is that?
Good morning. Buenos días.
Okay, not sure where that's coming from, but so person, what's Rava's case? You sent food, you sent meat to your wife, but the meat was not cut, meaning it did not have the forbidden gid. There's a certain part of the meat that's not allowed to be eaten. The gid hanasha, the chelav, there are fats, and there's also the sciatic nerve. So that those areas of the meat was not removed, and you are doing a nice thing by making sure your wife has food for sending food home, supporting your wife, for supporting the family, and you send her meat on Erev Shabbos so that she can feel good, feel that she's cooking for the family. But the problem is that you didn't remove the the forbidden parts. The nikur, it's called. Nikur is they would remove the sciatic nerve and the forbidden fats. And so by a person doing that is actually going to be judged for such a thing, because what ends up happening is it's Friday afternoon, everyone is in a rush, and she might forget to remove those fats, and it's really your fault for not removing it first. The Gemara now asks and says, "Well, Rava Mashager." Rava is the one who says this, that you're going to be judged for such a thing. Rava himself used to do this. Rava used to send meat to his wife to prepare for Shabbos. Send her uncut. It was it was unseparated. It was the meat was complete meat that had to be removed. Certain parts had to be removed, and he would just send it to her. Rava Mashager, he would send it to her. So the Gemara answers, his wife was a special woman, Shani Bas Rav Chizda. She was the daughter of Rav Chizda, and she wasn't a regular person. The Kim Le Begava, the Bekian, Rava knew about her that she was a expert or bucky, experienced, and she knew what meat looked like after it was cut and after the pieces were removed. She wouldn't make a mistake like that. A regular person is not so sure, especially the wife. Men were, I guess, it was a common thing. They would remove the fats before they would bring home meat. So the men, I guess, knew more about the nikur than the women. But this woman actually knew a lot, because she was the daughter of Rav Chizda, and she was an expert in these things. So she knew what the meat, that this meat obviously was not, the fat was not removed. She would have recognized it right away. She was a baki, bekia. Okay, the Gemara then continues and says another pasuk. Another pasuk, and this pasuk is in Chumash. It's V'haya kesimtzena ra'isai ra'is rabbis v'tzarais. Oh, let me read it again. Rabbi Yochanan kimati lahaikra bachi. Now, Rabbi Yochanan, when he came to another pasuk, he would cry. What pasuk? V'haya kesimtzena isai ra'is rabbis v'tzarais. When it'll come upon you, when it'll be found to you, it'll happen to you. Bad, ra'is rabbis, many bads, the tzarais, and pains. What are these things? What are these ra'is rabbis? Many evils and pains. So Rabbi Yochanan, when he read that pasuk, he said this: Eved sherabai mamti loy ra'is v'tzarais takana yesh loy. A servant that the master is sending, not just like punishments, many bads and ra'is and tzarais, both like tzarais and ra'is, the evils and sufferings, like an eved that the master is, mentioning that he's going to be punishing with all these different types of punishment. Is there any takana, any remedy for such a person? Takana yeshlai. It's one thing a master, punishes his servant if they don't, if they don't follow what they're supposed to. But the emphasizing ra'is, rabbis, tzarais, all the different types of evils that are the punishments that are going to happen. So the Gemara now continues and says, "My ra'is v'tzarais." What does this mean? That there's ra'is and tzarais. We know they both mean evil and distress and pain, but what are these two? What are the difference? What is it referring to when it says both? So Amar Rav says, you know why it says both of these things? Because it means ra'is shenasis tzarais zulazu. It's punishments that they are incompatible to each other. They actually are tzarais to each other. In other words, you could have two punishments that are really, it's not just two separate punishments, but they actually combine. They are tzaros to each other. They are painful to each other. What does that mean? So the Gemara's example is going zibura v'akraba. An akrav is a scorpion. A zibura is a wasp. So a wasp and a scorpion, if you get both bites, they are not compatible with each other. The medicine for one is the exact opposite for the medicine for the other. It's like when you have, well, chas v'shalom, person sometimes is not well, but they can't take the medicine because that medicine they're allergic to. So they have this sickness, but they also have an allergy to the medicine. So they have two sicknesses that like ruin you. They can't take medicine for it. Here we're talking about, you have two sicknesses. You have a scorpion bite and a wasp bite. And you can't put cold on it because that's not good for this one. But you can't put hot on it because that's not good for that one. So in other words, one needs cold. The the remedy is cold. The other, the remedy is hot. But you can't do it because it's not compatible with the other sickness that you have, the other wound that you have. Yes, Ben.
Yeah, what I didn't like here is the word mamtzi. Mamtzi is you inventing bad things for him. In other words, it's not really bad things, but you punish him as if it was. You are inventing it.
Or presenting it. Mamtzi sometimes means presenting.
Not common. Mamtzi is to invent.
Well, when Hashem punishes, he sort of like invents a punishment. Each person according to his situation.
Mamtzi lo ra'ot v'tzarot.
Yeah, it's talking about Hashem punishing. And Rabbi Yochanan was pained that it's like not just one thing. It's mamtzi lo'rois v'tzaros takana. So you think the main thing is the mamtzi?
Yeah, that it's invented. It's not wasn't bad enough, but you kind of invent it as a bad thing. But the next one doesn't talk about the word mamtzi, just ra'ot v'tzarot.
Yeah, I'm not really sure that that's the issue. I think it's more the ra'is and sarais, like how many punishments. When he deals with so many punishments. I think mamti is the word.
In other words, you can't really fight it. He keeps finding bad things about you and punishing you. Can you correct it? That's the question.
Yeah, but not that he's invented. It's not the invention. It's more the ra'is, the punishments.
Well, if it's an invention, for sure you can't fight it. That's the answer.
Okay, all right, I hear. So the Gemara here says that there's ra'is that are tzaros zulazu. Tosfos over here says it pretty clearly. He says, Perish Rabbeinu Tam explains that refuah l'neshicha zu, the remedy for this bite is kashan l'neshicha zu, is like a bad. It's not good. It's painful and it ruins the other bite. So you could have something good for one bite, but it's not good for the other one. And Rashi explains it. He says chamimi, hot, is good for a akra, for a scorpion bite. Ukriri, and cold is good for a zibura, for a wasp bite. So on a wasp bite you would put something cold. On a scorpion, I don't know if medicine agrees with this today, but at least in the Gemara Avodah Zarah brings this, that hot is good for a scorpion bite. Now, what happens if you use the opposite? You put a scorpion bite, you put cold on a scorpion bite. So it says it's a sakanta, it's a sakana. So the problem is here you have both. Now, whatever you put on it, you're going to be ruining things, making things worse. So that's what it means, rois and sarais, that they're sarais zulazu. They become it's like a double.
I had a doctor do that to me. He told me to put. I had an appendix attack, and he told me to put hot on my stomach It did take away some of the pain, but when I got to the hospital, they opened me up. They said, your appendix blew up. And that's because I was heating it instead of putting ice.
You
told
mean
me
it
to
pop? Did it actually
Yeah.
pop?
Yeah,
Oh, boy.
they had to clean up my whole stomach.
Oh, wow. It's a
was all
miracle
over
that
the
you're
place.
alive.
Right. That
Yeah.
was at age 10.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So
Did the doctor know that it was an appendix issue? Did he know that the
he didn't, apparently, because I don't
Right.
think he would tell me. First, he told me to put ice. I put ice. I said, it doesn't help. He says, okay, heat it up. I heated it up, put hot
You think that's
compresses
what
on the
caused it to
stomach.
birth?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So the Gemara here continues and says that Ushmuel Amar, and Shmuel says, it's a little unclear what Shmuel is referring to, because Shmuel says, Zeh hamamtzi loy ma'os la'ani b'shas doichakei, that this refers to someone who gives charity to a poor person when he is in pressing situation. What does that mean? So Rashi says this is going on before. It says even you do something good for someone, but you'll be judged for it. What are you going to be judged for? You gave money to charity, you gave it to a poor person, but when they were really in a pressing need. What does that mean? It's almost like if you gave them the money early, you could have got the stuff on sale. But you waited till the last moment. Now he needs even more. So it's like it's costing him much more. If only you would have given it to him earlier, you would have allowed him to save and be able to, the money would have lasted, would have been spent more properly. You caused that the money ended up not being spent properly because he had to waste money on the fact that it was a last minute and you gave it to him only last minute. So it's like if someone didn't pay their electric bill and if you help them out early, they don't have to pay the penalty. But if you wait, if you wait till they're turning off the electric bill or the electric in the house, and then you help them out, guess what? There's like $100 fee for them to come and turn on the electric again, right? Or maybe $200 fee. I don't know what it is. But if they turn off your electric, so if you waited till the last minute, you sort of caused you're going to be judged. You gave charity, but why'd you wait till the last minute when you could have helped them out earlier? Wouldn't have had to pay the penalty fee. Amar Rava said, Hainu Damri Inchi, that's what people say. It's a saying that people have. Zuza la'alala lo'ishchicha. That they didn't have the money to buy the produce. The tlisa shchiyah, to ruin, to lose it, he has the money. In other words, when it's going to get lost, then the money comes in. When he needed it, to buy the grain, he didn't have it. But now for losing, now the money came in. L'tlisa, that's Rashi's first interpretation. L'tlisa means lehefsid, for a loss. So that's when you really needed it, you didn't have it. That's the point here. Okay, the next Gemara explains other psukim in that same chapter. In other words, we just had a verse that we explained, Ra'is and Sarais, and now we're continuing with another pasuk that's in that same chapter of Chumash. So it says, "V'chara api boy bayomahu," my anger will burn against him on that day. Ve'azavtim and I will forsake him or forsake them. V'histarti panai mehem, and I will conceal my face from them. So my anger will burn in him on that day, and I will forsake them, and I will hide my face from them. Amarav Bardala Bartiv Yomi Amarav. Bardala Bartiv Yomi says in the name of Rav, Kol she'enoi behester panim. Anyone that is not in the category of being of Hashem concealing his face from them, Einoi mehem is not a yid. In other words, only a yid would it be stated about that Hashem conceals his face from them. So Hashem will conceal his face from them. It means it's only referring to Yidden because only a Yid could have such a punishment. If he's not, if he's not subject to concealment of his face, he's Einoi Mehem. He's not a Yid. Kol she'enoi b'vahaya lechol. Anyone that is not included in the punishment of he will be consumed, which is a continuation of that verse, which says, V'chora api boy b'yoymahu v'azabtim v'histarti panai mehem. So I'm going to conceal my face from them. V'haya lechol, and they will be for consumption. Umatzau rois rabbis v'tzaros, and they will. Again, it uses that same term that it used in that other pasuk. Rois rabbis v'tzaros. It's not the same pasuk; it's a different pasuk, but it uses the same term. That there'll be evils will find him. A lot of evils and tzaros will find him. In Va'amar b'yomahu, and he'll say on that day, Haloi, behold, al ki eina lakai b'kirbi, because Hashem is not in my midst. Mitzauni haroi sa'ela, these evils have found me. So this is a pasuk. It's in the same chapter. It's chapter 31, verse 17 in Dvarim. So it says that anyone that is not included in that punishment of he will be for consumption. Einoi Mehem is also not a yid. Only a yid could be included in that in such a punishment, because goyim will, so to speak, they are the ones who take our possessions. Now, the Gemara continues and says that Amr le Rabbanan le Rava, the rabbis told Rava, Mar loy behester panim. Loy behester panim isa, v'loy b'v'haya lechol isa. Master, which means they're talking about Rava. We just turned the page, by the way. We're on page 5b. And the rabbis told Rava that you don't have this issue of being concealed, that Hashem conceals his face from you, and nor do you have this issue of being that you will be for consumption. What does that mean? So it's Amar lahu. So he answered them, Ma mi yadisu kama meshadarna b'tzinor beish for malka. Do you know how much money I have to pay b'tzina secretly to the king, King Shapur, because there's a king that I have to pay off. And so, although true, I'm wealthy, but do you know how much I have to pay him off? Afilu hachi, nevertheless, Yavu be Rabbanan Noihi, the rabbis set their eyes on him, and they made what's called an ayin hara, an evil eye. And the hachi shadar dveish var malka. So in the meantime, the king sent agents ugravuhu, and they took prey from his possessions. Amar, he said, Hainu Detanya, that's what it means. Amar Reb Shimon ben Gamliel. Reb Shimon ben Gamliel said, Kol makim shenasnu chachamim einehem, wherever the rabbis set their eyes on someone, the outcome was not good. It was either oy misa oy oini. It was either misa, death, or poverty. So the point is that although Rava denied the fact that the verse doesn't apply, he said the verse does apply to me because I've had this issue. I have to pay off the government. Nevertheless, the rabbis, because they made like an ayin hara, it sort of caused that he would lose something, and they ended up coming and taking from his possessions. The Gemara continues and says, "Va'anoichi hastir astir panai b'yomahu, I will conceal my face on that day." So Amar Rava said, Amar Kadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem says, "Aval bisha starti panai mayhem," even though I conceal my face from them, b'chaloim adaber boy, I will speak to him in a dream. So it seems like I'm not gonna, have any relationship. I'm gonna conceal my face. Nevertheless, b'chaloim adaber boy, I will speak to him in a dream. How do we know that? Why would the Gemara understand it that way? It says, I'm going to conceal my face. It sounds like I'm not going to reveal anything to you. I'm going to reveal something in a dream? How would that fit? It says, I'm going to conceal myself from you. So the answer is, because it says, by Yom Hahu, on that day, I'm going to conceal my face. What about at night? At night, I'm not going to conceal my face from you. I will speak to you in a dream. By day, I will conceal my face. So since it says by Yom, so that's the drasha. Rashi says this over here. He says, by Yom Hahu Kadiyat. Rashi says, the Gemara is basing this teaching on the fact that it says by Yom, and by Yom v'loy balayla, by day, not by night, means that by night Hashem will reveal things to him in order that he should daven and pray that things should be better. So Hashem will have a relationship and he will speak to him in a dream. Rav Yosef Amar, Rav Yosef says, Yodai Natuya Aleinu, his hand is stretched out over us. Shenemar, as it says, Uvatzel Yodai Kisisicha, with the shadow of my hand, I cover you. And the point is that although Hashem is concealing, nevertheless, he is still protecting us. Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya have a koi be Kesar. Yeshua ben Chananya was in the house, in the palace of Kesar, of the king's palace, the Caesar's palace. A heretic signaled to him, to Rabbi Yeshua, and Amada hadrinhu mare la'ape minei. A nation that the master turns his face away from them. That's what the heretic signaled to Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya. He signaled him that you people are a nation that Hashem has turned his face from them. So ach vilei, so Rabbi Yeshua replied. He signaled to him, Yadai netuya alein. His hand is outstretched. It protects us. It's outstretched over us. Amar le Kesar Rabbi Yeshua. So the Kesar, when the emperor saw that Rabbi Yeshua and this guy were like having some type of a dialogue, exchange of their hand motions. So he said to him, "My achvilach, what was he showing you? What was he signaling to you?" So he said, "Amada hedrinu mari lapi mine." He was showing me that we're a nation that Hashem turns his face from us. V'ana machavina le, and I showed him, I signaled him, Yadai netuya aleinu, that his hand is still covering, protecting us. Amru le la humina, they said to that heretic, I guess the officers of the emperor, they said to him, "My achvislei, what did you show to him?" And so he said, "Amada hidrinu mari la'api minei." I was showing him that you're a Jew and your God has turned his face away from you. And my achvilach, what did he show you? Lo yadana, I don't know. I don't know what he said. I don't know what he was doing. So Amru, they said, Gavra de la Yoda my machvule b'machag, a man that person that doesn't understand what he's being signaled, Yahweh Kami Malka, he should make signals in front of a king. They took him out and they killed him as a punishment for disrespect before the king. Now, so what does this mean? Making a signal in front of a king, is something that you have to be careful about. And on the one hand, fine, you're not speaking to the other person in front of the king, but even making signals, if you're capable of it is one thing. But if you don't even necessarily understand it, so it's more like you're playing with signals in front of a king, that would be inappropriate. And basically, he was doing an act of disrespect in front of the king. They killed him. Now, Kikon Naich Nafshid Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya, when Yeshua ben Chananya passed away, Amalei Rabbanon, my Tevi Alon me Apikorsim. What are we going to do about the Apikorsim? How are we going to answer them? Amar Lahem, he said, of the Eitzah Mibanim Nisrucha Chachmasam, that the Eitzah, the advice from the children is lost. In other words, once we don't have Kivan Shavda Eitzah Mibanim, once we don't have anyone to answer for us, meaning Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya passed away, we have no advice from the Jewish people. Nisracha Chachmasan Shalom Hashalom. That means their Chachma, their wisdom is going to be Nisrach, is going to be spoiled. So what that means is that it's like a balance. When we have wisdom, Hashem allows them to have some wisdom that they can bother us with. If we don't have advice, if we are missing advice, and as Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya passes away, we don't have to worry about them because Hashem is not going to allow them to be smart enough to ask us questions and bother us. If you want, there's another verse. Esav said, "Let us travel, and we will go, and I will go alongside you, with you, opposite you." So the idea is that when we have what to answer, that's when they're able to bother us because we have what to answer. If we don't have what to answer, you don't have to worry. It's relative, commensurate with what we have is what they're kvetching, their claims, their arguments. Okay, well, we're gonna stop here. Everyone, sei gesund. There is class this afternoon, even though it's a fast day. Sei gesund, and have an
Thank
easy
you,
Fest.
Rabbi.
Great. Thank
Thank
you,
you,
everyone.
Rabbi.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.